everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how you can increase the effectiveness of your team. So to get us started, let me ask you a question. What is slowing down your team today? Or more importantly, do you have a team or essentially it's a bunch of individuals working together on a problem? Right? Now, these are very deep things to think about and consider, right? So a starting point in terms of what is slowing down the team, there's a classic work out there by Patrick Lencioni, 5 dysfunctions of a team. And this is applied in multiple places. In fact, this is the most applied framework that I've pretty much used over the years, and I've seen it being used over the years as well. So what it talks about essentially is when you think about the 5 common dysfunctions of the team, think of it as a pyramid. Starting from the bottom, it's absence of trust. That is, team members are not being vulnerable with each other, not admitting mistakes. They're not comfortable in being I would say totally transparent. So they don't trust each other. That is an absolute starting point. Is everyone being vulnerable? Do they feel they have their backs? Do they feel they can bring their whole self, or they are guarding what they are saying, what they're not maybe sharing everything because of lack of being concerned about being. So that leads to the next level, which is fear of conflict. Now, typically in any discussion, there will be opposing views. And one important aspect here is that if people are not, I would say, open to mention what they have, it could be an opposing viewpoint. It could lead to a conflict. But this is healthy for the team. It's always good to have this information out there with a very, I would say, open environment, open, safe environment for everyone. No input is an inferior input. So the fear of conflict is the next aspect. Teams who don't have trust will basically have this external, I would say, veil of everything is going good. They will not be conflicting, even if they don't agree or believe in what is being talked about. That leads to the next dysfunction, which is lack of commitment. If you did not express what you really had, whatever decisions are going to come out, you're not going to commit to it. In fact, implicitly, there would be this aspect of, maybe let's basically work on something else. I'm not going to commit to this outcome because I don't believe in it. And the reason you did not express is because of fear of conflict. You want to be in situations because, bottom line, there's no trust in the team. The thing on top of it, if there is no commitment, is there's no accountability. That is, if nobody's clearly committing on making things happen, clearly there is no, I would say, accountability, or it's going to be counterproductive to the overall team because folks will not be delivering, dependencies will not be met. And the last bit there in terms of 5 dysfunctions is inattention to results. So people are really looking out for their own development, career development, recognition, egos. They're not really caring about the team. Now, this may appear as, I would say, something that can happen in other teams, but not in yours. But if you really take a closer look, I can tell you from experience, every team has some aspects of this, starting with trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment leading to lack of accountability, leading to lack of results, right? So it's a very logical structure when you think of it in this form. Now, what it basically means is, from a playbook standpoint, you start from the bottom. Is there absence of trust? That is, and really sort of starting here, being human yourself as a leader, being vulnerable, and really making sure everyone is feeling safe to bring their whole identity in these meetings. They are being vulnerable. They are expressing what they are afraid of, what they are worried about, what they don't feel competent to do, and so on. That is where when you reach a point where people are able to express this without fear of being judged, without fear of or worrying in terms of how this will be perceived, that is where trust is accomplished. For the next one, in terms of the fear of conflict, your role as a leader is to demand a debate, dig deeper. If the decision is being made, purposely put in a counter or ask for others for counter opinions. Make it clear that it is okay to have a debate, okay to have differing viewpoints, and really using that as a, I would say, environment where we come together because we all have a common objective in terms of making the best outcome for the company. And in that context, the best ideas win. On top of that, when you think about the commitment aspect, so with the fear of conflict out of the way, that it's really about lack of commitment. And this is where focusing clarity, making it very clear what the goals are, who's accountable, having very clear action items and closures, and following up. So not just defining them, but then being perfectly fine to go back and, hey, you were supposed to get this done. Where are we? What's going on? The next thing built on top of that is accountability. If you're seeing lack of accountability, it's really about getting to the bottom of what are the issues coming in the way. Confront the difficult issues. Why was it missed? Why were these goals not met on time, and so on? And finally, when it comes to results, really focusing on the outcomes. Oftentimes, individuals confuse progress or effort for outcome, right? You don't want a rocking horse. A rocking horse moves a lot of motion, a lot of activity, but no real motion. It's still at the same place. So this is where at the top of the pyramid, it is about making it very clear through your performance evaluation, to your one-on-ones, that what we're looking for is outcomes in whatever activities have been defined. Now, in addition to this framework, the 5 dysfunctions framework, there's actually another very interesting work done by Google in their project, the Theristotle Project, where essentially they did a survey, extremely data-driven. In fact, it's fascinating to read the details of this project. And they basically tried to answer this question, which is, what are the key attributes that impact the effectiveness of a team? And here's what they found. The 5 key attributes they found were psychological safety, right? Team members being able to feel safe, be vulnerable in front of each other. Dependability, team members get things done on time. Structure and clarity, very clear roles, plans, goals. Meaning, work is personally important to the team. And impact, team members think that their work matters and creates change. These are the 5 things they found that any team which had these 5 things, safety, dependability, structure and clarity, meaning, and impact, were very, very effective as teams. At the same time, in this research, there were several other parameters which did not seem to be having a significant impact, right? Co-location of teammates, consensus between decision-making, extroversion versus introversion of team members, individual performance of team members, workload size, seniority, team size, tenure. These are things which were considered. And again, this may not be always true, and this wasn't true in the context of Google. But what the really study shows us is that these aspects have very little contribution to the overall effectiveness of the team. If I go back to those 5 attributes listed here, and if I go back to the 5 dysfunctions framework, in some sense, there's this kind of a correlation here. The first 3, safety, dependability, structure, and clarity, kind of represent the 5 aspects we covered when we were talking about the 5 dysfunctions framework, right? The other 2, meaning and impact. Meaning means the work is personally important, and impact is team members think that their work matters. I think those are 2 additional aspects, on top of the 5 dysfunctions that we saw in the other framework. But again, much recent study, data-driven, these findings are really very, very valuable. What we can do as next steps from a playbook here is there's a great discussion guide available from Google. Link is over here. And this is really about using this to discuss the bottlenecks with the team. Understand and thinking about next steps. Do we have a safe environment? Do we have dependability? Do we have the right clarity? So on and so forth. So I think that really helps sitting down with the team, having more of the discussion. It's again not a blame game. It is not about someone doing something incorrectly, but it's really as a team what we can do best. This is one last aspect which I'd like to also put in, which is in fact an interesting book called The Commitment Continuum. And the key point here is that when you think everyone on the team, they are at different levels of their commitment, right? On one extreme, you may have someone who's resistant, not bought in at all. On the other side, you may have someone who is compelled and obsessed, really wants to make sure that they give it their best, right? And then there are stages in between: reluctant, existent, compliant, committed. And this is another aspect where, as you think of a team, in your one-on-ones, really gauging where the individuals are and making sure that you're helping them rise on this commitment continuum, understanding the bottlenecks. Why is someone reluctant? What do they need to see? What would it take to get them committed and compelled? So another aspect to watch out for, in addition to working on the team, having this clarity of the individuals on the team. This is something that I've seen often, is that not everyone is in the same boat, so to speak. And it's an important aspect to work on individually as well and through your one-on-ones. So takeaway here, folks, is really in terms of your role. If you go back to the 5 dysfunctions framework, we have to work backwards. You have to start with trust, conflict, really looking for commitment, accountability, and results. And what you do is, really focus on building the trust, being vulnerable yourself, making sure team is spending time together to build that trust. Look for conflicts, force for clarity and closure as you look for commitments. Uncover issues, like really work towards it, and really force on collective outcomes, making sure that, it doesn't matter if someone individually scored big. If the team loses, then that wouldn't really matter. So clear takeaways here. You can apply the structure in addition of the work that we got from the Google Theristotle Project. In fact, my assignment here would be to really reflect and use the more conflicts and issues in the team. There's also another link in terms of some reading assignments that you can further read up on along those aspects in terms of how to create psychological safety, how do you create clarity, what do you need to do, and so on and so forth. Hope you guys found this useful. Thank you.